So here is another example, find x. We are going to do that using the quadratic formula. Because it just plug and chug, it's nice and easy. So, a equals 3, b equals -6, maybe we want to put that in parentheses to make sure we don't lose that negative, c equals -4, same thing. So plugging this in, that was step 1 to find 2, plug into the formula. So we've got -6, because it's negative b, plus or minus the square root of -6 squared minus 4a, so times 3 times c, all over 2 times 3, or 2 times a. Alright, time to simplify. This becomes a positive 6. So I've got 6 plus or minus -6 squared is 36 minus. And again, here we've got a negative number and a negative number, so it's going to end up a positive number. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 4 is 48. So I'm going to add 48 down here, all divided by 2 times 3, which is 6. We can add 36 plus 48, and that will get us 6 plus or minus the square root of 84 divided by 6. Alright, so now we need to factor 84. Go back, 6 plus or minus square root of 84, all divided by 6. Factor 84. 84 factored is 2 times 42, 2 times 21, and 3 and 7. Alright, so we have one pair here we can take out, but 3 times 7 is going to stay inside the radical. So we're going to have 2 square root of 21. So I'm going to rewrite this as 6 plus or minus 2 radical 21, all divided by 6. Now, I could leave this like this almost. However, we do have to simplify. When two terms on the top, top numbers in the numerator, are divided by a value on the bottom, we can split this up and write it as 6 divided by 6 plus or minus 2 over 6 radical 21. So we still need to simplify these fractions. We end up with 6 divided by 6, which is 1, plus or minus 2 divided by 6, which is 1/3, square root of 21. So this would be your final answer. That 21 can stay in the numerator, so another way to write this is 1 plus or minus the square root of 21, all divided by 3. Either of those would be correct, since this entire thing is over 6. This can also be done with imaginary numbers. The only difference is that you'll have a negative under the radical sign, and that will result in two imaginary answers. You can now work on your homework, or if you need one more example that includes an imaginary number, continue to follow along. Alright, so here's another example, and this one's going to result in some imaginary solutions. The first thing you probably notice is, oh no, it doesn't look like our equation. ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. But that's easy. All we need to do is make one side equal 0. How do we do that? Simple. Take these away. Minus 4x plus 2 plus 2. So these will cancel on this side, leaving us with equals 0. On this side, we combine like terms. We get x squared plus x plus 2. Simple, no problem. Alright, so now let's define our variables. A equals, oh, there's no number here. But anytime there's no number, we can add a 1 in front. So let's do that in both cases. A equals 1, B equals 1, C equals 2. Now let's plug those into the quadratic equation. Negative b, so negative 1, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 1 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times 2, which is c, all divided by 2 times a, which is 1. And we always want that x equals in front, so we know we're solving for x. Simplified, we get x equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus, let's change color, 4 times 1 times 2 equals 8. They're all, one of them is negative, the rest are positive, so our answer is negative. So we have minus 8 here, all divided by 2 times 1, which is 2. If we simplify this further, we get negative 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 7 divided by 2. Oh, look at that. There's our negative under the radical sign. So what should we do next? Let's make sure that we get that imaginary value out of there. So we have negative 1 plus or minus square root of negative 7 divided by 2. We can change this radical to the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 7. 7 can't be factored, so we're going to leave it as that. But negative 1 becomes I. So we can rewrite this as x equals negative 1 plus or minus I radical 7 divided by 2. In this case, none of the fractions simplify. We can look at that just to be sure. So negative 1 divided by 2 doesn't simplify. That's in its simplest form. Plus or minus I radical 7 over 2. Again, I can't be divided by 2. So we're done. You can leave your answer like this or like this, whichever one you want, as long as you have factored out that imaginary one. And that's it. Those are all the examples. Go ahead and try some of these on your own or with a partner with the rest of class. Good luck. Okay, so here's one more type of problem that you might see. And what you'll notice is there's only 2 terms here. We're missing one of the terms. So if you look at the type of equation we've been looking at, you'll notice there's no bx in this equation here. That's okay. We can still define our variables. But in this case, since there's no b term, it's just going to be that b equals 0. So I'm still going to say a equals 3 from here, and c equals 25 from here. And now we can plug this into the quadratic formula. So when I do that, we've got negative b. b is 0, so we've just got negative 0, plus or minus the square root of b, which is again 0 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is 25, all divided by 2 times a, which is 3. Okay, so these are our x values here. And that's what we're trying to do, solve for x. So, simplify this down, we get x equals negative 0, we can just delete that, it doesn't need to be there, plus or minus the square root of 0 squared is just 0, so we're just going to do the math right here. Negative 4 times 3 times 25 is going to be negative 300 divided by 2 times 3, which is 6. Alright, so now we just need to factor what's underneath the square root sign and see if we can simplify. To factor negative 300, we want to split this up into the square root of negative 1 because we know that's I, and the square root of 300. Remember, we need to do that anytime we see a negative sign under the quadratic, under the radical sign. So negative 1 becomes I, still that plus or minus, and then we've got the square root of 300. We're going to factor 300. That's 3 times 100, and then this breaks down to 10 and 10. We've got a pair here, so we can pull out a 10, 1 10, and we're going to leave 3 under the quadratic formula sign. So now we've got plus or minus 10I, because we pulled out a 10, times the square root of 3 divided by 6. So we've done our factoring. Now we need to simplify because 10 over 6 can be simplified. So we're going to rewrite this as plus or minus. We're going to simplify this down to 5I square root of 3 all divided by 3, and that's our final answer. Okay, so a little bit different because there's no bx term, but really you're doing the same thing. You're just going to set b equal to 0.